Board of Alders notice, New Haven. The Joint Legislation and Tax Abatement Committee of the Board of Alders will meet in person on Tuesday, February 24th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. in the Board of Alders Chambers located at Church Street. That to hear and act on following item LM 2025-0676, ordinance amending the New Haven Code of Ordinances for the purpose of classifying the Elm City Lofts project as a property used for housing solely for low or moderate income persons or families, providing an abatement of real estate taxes for the Elm City Lofts project, and authorizing the mayor to enter into a tax abatement agreement with Elm City Lofts LLC in accordance with Connecticut General Statute at Section 8-215. Anointed charter of the city of New Haven, IV Section 6 and City of New Haven Code of General Ordinance, Section 28-4. Item 2, OR 2026-0002, zoning or map to change zoning designation of 71 Shelton Avenue and 89, aka 91 Shelton Avenue, from Industry H District, Heavy Industry IH to Residential General High Density District RH-2. Per order, Honorable Richard Furlow, co-chair, and Honorable Troy Streeter, co-chair. Attest, Honorable Michael Smart, City Town Clerk. These items are on file and available in the Office of Legislative City Hall, 160 Street, Second, New Haven, Connecticut, 06510. For accessibility, related accommodation, please call 203-946-7651 or 203-946-8582. Public comment testimony may also be submitted by email to public, PUBLIC testimony, TESTIMONY, New Haven, or 2 p.m. on the day of the meeting. This meeting may be viewed on the New Haven YouTube page. All this starting on the right.
You're right.
Yeah.
Mildred Melendez, Ward 13.
Brian will be Ward 29 on the Tax Abatement Committee.
The beginning chairs, Alder Evelyn Rodriguez, Ward 4.
Julius Theodore, Ward 1. Ward 25.
Furlow, Ward 20, legislation. Peter, Ward 21, tax abatement.
Frank Douglas, Ward 2, tax abatement.
Carmen Rodriguez, Ward 6. Magda Patel, Ward 16, tax abatement. Amy Marks, Ward 26, legislation.
Okay, if presenters can please come up. Item number 1.
Good evening. Legislation.
Yes, could everyone give their name and address for the record? Thank you.
My name is Carolyn Compton. I live at my law firm is at 200
My name is Joseph Malone.
architect.
Yes.
Okay. I reside at 9 BoA Drive in Westport, Connecticut.
I'm Josh Greenblatt. I'm with Vesta Corporation, the co-developer here. I live at 8 Forest Lane, West Hartford, Connecticut. Our office is at 175 Powder Forge Drive, Utah, Connecticut, and my father grew up the street.
You have the floor, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so we're going to, if this is okay with the committee, present both of our items together so that we don't have to let the projects out. So, and I thought I'd just sort of outline here for our presentation. So request a map amendment to zone 71 Shell Avenue 89, also known as commercial area for 240 affordable units. And this is the heavy industrial zone, which to adopt or have the zone, adjacent zone at 201, the RH2. And we're also here asking a LISTA application, and asking that the committee recommend to the board $450 for 17-year period with a 3% every year with 3%. What we would do is we have the developers talk a little bit about their background, then go and talk a little bit about the property and the project, and then we would talk about why it's not implemented, why it's consistent with the city's comprehensive plan, vision, and opportunity, and why we need the list, and that's consistent with what this committee has done for all the 5 years. So we're going to start with the developers talking about what they've done in New Haven and in other places. And, so we're going to start with.
Great. Thank you very much. So Vesta Corporation is a developer multifamily based in Utah, Connecticut. We own and operate properties in 6 states plus Washington, D.C., about 8,500 apartment units, and we also manage everything we own, and we manage the sponsors portfolios about over 12,000 units. All we do is multifamily, and every property that we participate in has some kind of affordability. Any subsidized properties, we have even more low-income housing tax credit properties. We have some that overlap between the two, and then we have various properties that have other kinds of state and local affordability programs. Our plan here, and we'll get into it later, is to rehabilitate the existing structure and construct new on the adjacent vacant parcel, a 100% affordable property to 60 and 60 AMI tiers. Most recently, the next slide. Most recently, we completed last fall the Monarch Apartments. We converted a old dry cleaning facility to this job on the screen now. It's 64 apartments in West River neighborhood. We also own Beach Gardens, which is another affordable property that we've been involved in since the late 80s.
Okay, as mentioned, my name is Joseph Long. I'm an architect by training. I studied architecture at Pratt Institute in Brooklyn and apprenticed for several multifamily housing firms in Manhattan. Back in the 80s, I did these types of old buildings. So my experience as a young architect in New York, historic properties. Started my own firm back in 1985, and I focused primarily on multifamily housing throughout the state of Connecticut. I actually developed a slide actually found this concrete building in Rockville, Connecticut, back in 2003, converted that to affordable housing, restored that concrete facade, and a very successful project, which has sort of brought me to finding a concrete mill, which is constructed very similar to New York City, and that's where the attraction came from. So I'm very happy. Joshua and I are partnered together on a project called Abatement, which was a rehabilitation project in West Hartford, which we had a ribbon cutting last May. And we're very excited about this project because we feel that it's a combination of new construction and historic rebuild.
So this property, which is in, Speedway Ward and others here, my kind of quite familiar with, is, Shelton Avenue, and to now, to the south, Flowood runs continuation of Argyle Street enclosed, and to the north is a stone factory, basically. The two parcels were combined, and currently on the, as Joe has mentioned, the next slide is a historic building. So this building was built as part of the regional factory. It was built approximately 175,000 square feet. It is currently about 10 to 20% occupied. It's occupied by some musicians and artists and a few offices and a rock climbing gym. And so the idea is to restore his historic credits will be used to finance it to its historical condition. Right now, it's really run down and dilapidated. And then to the south, had a nuclear research facility, and it, of course, that building was demolished. Next, a little bit about the environmental issues that have been done to the parcel, the two parcels, and plans for will be built or the historic mill building. So,
I'll take that. No problem. So we started working on this opportunity last summer. Joe identified it first and then brought us in. Immediately, we understood there were some environmental hazards at both the vacant parcels, and we worked with city staff, including Helen Rose, to submit a brownfield application. The way the applications work is the city submits them. We worked to provide supporting documentation. We typically rely on a firm out of Bloomfield, Connecticut by the name of GeoQuest. They reviewed all of the testing that had been done, and they developed a plan to address the hazards that were identified. It will bring both this and the vacant parcel up to a residential standard. And what's attached here is the DCD, the Brownfield Award. We submitted this in early September. In December, the mayor received this on behalf of the city of New Haven, and it's a conditional approval that's going to provide the necessary funding to remediate both properties, both parcels, to a residential standard. It's a $6 million award. This condition really have on two main things. One being zoning change that we're here to discuss today. The other is lining all of the other necessary financing to get the project done.
Okay, so now, Joe, will talk about the plans for the project.
Okay.
This one? Nope. No, that's the next one.
That's the old stack.
Is it after this? Which rendering do you want?
There should be another one. Did not make it in.
Didn't make it in.
Okay, it's in the handout.
Oh, it's in the handout, okay.
Why don't we start in the handout on page 9, so the first rendering.
Sure, where you're.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so the design concept is based on historically rehabilitating the existing mill structure. The building is in very good structural condition. So we're converting that into 6 units. Will be scattered across all 5 floors, including the first floor. We're going to use the basement for some underground parking. There really aren't any windows in the basement, so it's ideal for a parking layout. Then to the south on the 71 parcel, the concept calls for building 2 new apartment buildings. The front building, or the building that you see in the photograph, which is closest to the street, which will have 3 residential floors and parking on grade level. And there'll be a retail component on the first floor that faces the street. That will have 60 units. Then toward the middle, which is the slide you're looking at now, there'll be a sort of a public community area for the tenants, maybe a water feature, but sort of outside space. And then the building to the east of that will add an additional floor, and there'll be 4 units in that building. Both lobbies and community areas will exit out into that sort of little green space. If you're wondering, the reason why I chose to do the western building, 3 floors of residential, because it faces south, and we want to really cut off any light from to the east. So that's the reason why that building is lower with the scale. So we have parking. We have 305 parking spaces. Majority of them are either under the buildings or in the basement of the mill building, and then there's some surface parking as well. And what's really, I think, wonderful is if that parking ever, that becomes a public walkway. We've designed with that in mind, so there would be access to that green area as a connector. Majority of the apartments are 1-bedroom units. There are some studios and some 2 bedrooms in the corners. But that's the concept, design concept. Sure. So that's the site plan, which you can see the building on the upper left is the existing building. And then the 2 buildings to the south are on each side. Each building will have a nice little porte cochere underneath for residents and packages and so forth. The snow. And then there's a colonnade of elm trees that is directly in front of the existing building, obviously because this is the Elm City. And then it exits out to the back, as you see. So there's a lot of one-way traffic to avoid confrontation, and also to avoid having, wide, asphalt. I mean, we work very hard to try to remain. There's a lot of green there. It's very hard to try to avoid lots and so forth. And that's it. But that is basically, those are the floor plans for the existing building. You can see the bottom drawing represents the basement. And we're constructing a new ramp on the east side of the building that will take us down to the basement. And then the drawing in the middle is the first floor plan, which shows on the upper left-hand corner the main entrance of the building. There will be a community room there. There'll be a fitness center. There will be there will be a leasing office and an area for the tenants to really do amenities. There will be a laundry room on every floor, and then the top drawing is really the typical floor plan. And we're very fortunate in that all three stairs, which were monolithically poured when the building was constructed, will remain. Have to modify some of the handrails, but those stairs will remain because they're illustrated. And then the elevator that's at the main entrance by the porte cochere, that will stay in place. And we're providing a new elevator way on the west side, or the east side rather, for people who are parking in that back lot. So there'll be an east lobby and
which is to change the zoning. It's currently zoned IH, which is appropriate as a Winchester building. And it does not allow residential development. And the current owner of the building, very difficult time to make it viable. As I said, it's only 10 to 20%. Why there's really not a lot of demand for industrial use, neighborhood, which is basically a residential neighborhood. And last year, self-storage applicant, which is allowed with a special permit, came in and was interested in the property, and the neighborhood was quite, they really did not want self-storage, and they really wanted a residential. So the RH2 zone was the zone that's directly to the south. And the 201 Munson project, which is that very large project, that property had been IH, and it was rezoned to RH2 zone. And we think that's a very appropriate zone for to distribute and north. And also allows dense to do, and it allows a mixed use. Retail, that new building that's along Shelton Avenue. And so we looked at vision, our new vision 2034, and it fits four of the goals. As you know, a really high priority of vision 2034 is affordable housing. And also goal 4 is to take and change them into affordable housing. Goal 2 is to increase the housing. And goal 1 is to create places to live and prioritize the development of housing units. And the vision 4 uses as one of the important strategies is to change the zoning. So this fits really well within the high priorities of the city. It also fits in well with the charter requirements that secure safety, provide adequate provision for transportation, and reflect the character of the area. Usually, when I think things, map changes come to you, they come to you after there's been a referral. But what's happened here is the commission will be considering this tomorrow evening. City staff has written a draft report, and I provided it to legislative services recommending approval of this zone change for the reasons that I and they could be commissioned, or our executive director, for me to share that. So I think, that sort of concludes our presentation on the map change, and now we want to finish that. And I think Josh will take over.
Go to the next slide. Think ahead here. This is the source and use that we submitted to the Department of Housing for our financing. So we're envisioning that this is roughly a $120 million project to, in order to accomplish everything that we need to accomplish here. There are several sources at play. First, there will be a mortgage from Connecticut Housing Finance Authority. Then there will also be the sale of low-income housing tax credits. As we've mentioned previously, there is, and this is in the bottom box of this page, there's the existing structure allows us to access both federal and state historic tax credits and brownfield funds that I had previously mentioned. And we right now have we submitted an application with the Connecticut Department of Housing, and we received last week an early indication that they're supportive of the project for $33,700,000, which works out to $40,625 per residential unit, which fits well within their parameters. Their parameters allow them to fund up to $150,000 per residential unit. And and the next source is, as part of a tax credit deal, low-income housing tax credit deal, we're allowed to defer our fee, which we're doing here. And then the last piece is, again, the Connecticut Housing Finance has an opportunity fund by that for $1 million. And if we're able to secure all of these funding sources, we expect we will be able to, it would allow us to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish here. And the upper portion, the upper box, details all of the costs that are involved for a transaction of this sort. We are currently, we've had a procurement process for an architect, and we're actually meeting tomorrow with two architects that responded to that, two New Haven architects that responded to that process. Once we make a selection of the architect, we will immediately open for the general contractor. The architect and the general contractor to work together to work efficiently to design the property and fit within our budget constraints. Accomplish that.
So, abatement is critical for the financing. Yeah, CHAPA considers it critical, actually to be the city's contribution to the project. And when we look at two things, when we look at the taxes that are currently being paid, they total about 75,000. With even the first year, so the way, of course, you know, it was 2 years, the tax saying on the construction project, and they were asking for $450 per unit with a 3% escalator. So even in the first year, all the taxes would be increased from what it's currently receiving, which is, it would be $180,000. That's 3% is compounded each year. In your package, I looked at.
Those numbers.
Sure. So currently, I just break it down more. 71 Shelton, the taxes, for January of 2007, July 2025, $11,613.90. And then 89, also known as One Shelton, it's 62,581.24. So that totals, arithmetic is okay, $75,195. 450 is come up with $108,000. And then that will be here for the next 15 years. And so I looked at what 15 of the tax listed, and some of them weren't listed. One was at the LDA, and that's in this chart. And there's one I did not include, that's all because it's apparently a dead project. But you can see the tax abatement, and I started with ones that were given in 21 through 25, really generally range in the 350 to 450 range. And so one outlier is the Fairfax Apartments, but apparently that wasn't a new construction, that's a rehab, and for some reason, they always felt that was appropriate for the rehab. But these are the other projects that are going on in the city right now, and we're asking for a that's consistent with what the Board of Walters has done in the last 4 years. So,
And I guess if I can add something, why this becomes critical to the project is that obviously real estate taxes become an operating expense and will impact our support for mortgage. Mortgage is the first financing source that I had mentioned earlier. Every $100 in tax results in a change to the mortgage by $337,000. So it's really important to the viability of this development that we enter into that gives us long-term certainty on what the real estate tax is.
so we just wanted to talk a little bit about the board and community outreach.
Great. So why don't I, so this is the agenda from the Dixwell community management. With both Dixwell and the New Hallville management. So there's the New Hallville meeting was on December 23rd. The Dixwell meeting was on January 15th. We wanted to introduce ourselves, use the opportunity here, answer any questions they may have. And I think both those meetings went well. We reached out to both community management teams to get letters of support. Unfortunately, we weren't able to include either of those in this package here, but because both groups, the meetings went well, we answered all questions, and we're excited to be part of the neighborhood.
Slide is for the Department of Housing application. These are the signatures of our whole legislative delegation. All supported.
Right. I wanted to mention that had the opportunity to introduce myself to all here in the spring or the summer of last year, walked them through the property, showed them the drawings. And at that meeting was a representative of Winter joined us at the meeting. And actually, the neighbor who owns us to the north, who owns the marble polishing facility. We toured through the building and we received, I think, support. And we were able to secure this letter that has all of the elected state officials representing New Haven, 8 signatures for the project. And that was actually put together by a certain Winter. So we're very proud to have a letter that has everyone sign up So,
So in conclusion, there are really 5 benefits. We talk about, but one is construction jobs. I think this would generate jobs. And then obviously affordable housing, environmental remediation, storage, restoration, and increased taxes. So, government fees. So thank you for listening to us, and I'm sure you have more.
It might be good at this time, Co-Chair Streeter, to see if anyone from the city would like to add any questions. So I can't.
No.
They're saying
Yes,
no.
Okay, is there any questions from the committee? All right. Alderman Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you all for your presentation. I have just 2 questions about the zoning change item. Ask about money later. On the zoning change, part of my thinking about the appropriateness of moving from heavy industrial to RH2 is whether or not it's feasible to remediate the property in a way that you could successfully remove the environmental restriction. And so in your presentation, you talked a little bit about this term GeoQuest, which had reviewed prior testing and provided an action plan. Right? So my question is more about that. How recent was the testing? I wouldn't want to say we encourage future development, residential development on the site if there's going to be any chance that people could get sick. You mentioned that one of the former facilities was a testing facility with radioactive isotopes, for example, which has been capped off and everything, but not to the standard that we're eventually. So I guess I just want more. And it wasn't. I saw the money part of the equation, which is good that we've got that under control. But I want to know more about the technical side. Sure. Of this.
I really appreciate the question. To be honest with you, we would not be involved if we could not bring the property to a residential standard. GeoQuest is a company. Vesta Corporation has been around since 1981. We've worked with GeoQuest really as our prime and sole environmental expert. We invested in this property, and the current owner have put together the testing that was necessary for the brownfield application. We took those testing results, and GeoQuest was involved in working with Rosenberg to put together a response. The firm that did the testing felt that the remediation could be accomplished for, I believe it was either $2 or $2.5 million. GeoQuest disagreed, and that's where the plan resulted in a $6 million application. I don't have the engineer, I don't want to purport to be a technical expert on remediation. We'd be happy to make their findings available to you or to the entire committee here. Talk about, to describe that, come back and talk to GeoQuest in a much more technical way about that.
So I appreciate that. I'm not an environmental scientist either. I'm looking for too deep a level of technicality here, but I'm wondering, just from a broader perspective, is it just changing the population? Is it recommending removal of a vast amount of material from the site? Can you sort of some indication of what it is?
So in the existing structure, there is lead that needs to be addressed, and that will be addressed with the appropriate hazardous material contract. In the new site, there is some that will be encapsulated, and there are other material that will be up on the site.
also, I would say that there's a small area on the existing building I think it's about 200 square feet. And there's a environmental land use restriction. That will be cleaned up. There's some, I'm not sure, residue from tank or something, but there's an environmental land use restriction that will come off. So we will clean that. Then all of the radioactive material that was on number 71 was actually loaded up on trucks and removed off the site years ago. Now, that soil is gone, but we have gone back and they did testing over the summer. Before August, in the summer, you would see a lot of activity on the site. They were doing additional testing. We have those results. And GeoQuest is an one. And that's where, as Josh mentioned, that's where that application comes from. But it's also important to note that, this isn't a private development fund. This is all public money, and there are more eyes on this than you can imagine, which is a good thing. So you should rest assured that when we complete the remediation, the study will be ready for it.
And to Joe's point, we're not going to have the results. The city has the results, and the Department of Economic and Development has the results. And if they want to satisfy that they would like, we're not proceeding with it all with it.
Thank you for that additional information. My second question.
But if I could also add to that, so the city plan report indicates that in city plan in 2019, the city plan commission approved a soil erosion sediment control review for the removal and disposal of soil for United Nuclear facility.
So, thank you for reading that report yet, but I will before tomorrow night's meeting. So thank you for that information. My second question is around the current tenants of the existing building who showed up at the public hearing for the Plan Commission and talked about one possibly affordable studio space for musicians and artists. And have you been in conversation with those folks? Are they part of your future plans for this property? Or could they be?
So, so many of those tenants are no longer in the building. They realized initial application for the self-storage facility that, they were not going to have a home for longer, so they left. There are only a handful of tenants. I don't even think it's 20%. There are a handful of tenants in the building who are only on the first floor. The rest of the building is not heated. And those tenants are on leases and they've been fully aware of what's going on. A project like this, when you build affordable housing, comes with regulations about how much commercial space you're allowed to have. HUD does not want to finance commercial projects. We certainly fit within the guidelines for a retail facility at the front of the building, and we intend to do that. But, these types of projects don't really allow for large components of commercial tenants.
So the short answer is no, for the various reasons that you laid out.
That's correct.
But this time they've been advised.
And the Rockland, we're gonna go.
We've been working and
We've spoken with the tenant, the operators of the gym. Unfortunately, it sounds like from what they've presented to us and conversations we've had with other city staff that they're a great tenant, but our financing does not allow for that. Is strictly for multi-family residential affordable housing. And just to clarify, something Joe mentioned, HUD is not part of this at all. This will not be financed or and none of the funds that we're seeking are HUD funds. These are state funds and low-income housing tax and both federal and state historic.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alder Douglas?
Thank you for that presentation. I always wonder what we were going to do with that. property. Remember when it was Olin Matheson and a lot of chemicals floated through there. So thank you, Alder Marchand, for raising that. That was my main concern. It just struck me when we came in here and I looked up the project. For a little project. But, I think you touched on just about what I need. Thank you for that. Alder Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can mute that. Oh, thank you, Madam. Oh. Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. It looks like exciting development. Certainly, the city's eager to see the environmental remediation. Housing, I do have two questions. One, I think was alluded to, but not really pinned. I'm correct to assume that you're not owners right now of the property?
We're under contract to acquire the property. The way this works is it'll be a financial closing once we line up all the sources, and we anticipated that will happen by the end of this year.
May I ask some questions about the ownership? So you're under contract at this point, but the contract I assume depends on like the zoning. Is that correct?
Not directly, but yes.
Share some of those thoughts. Discussion. Thank you. And the second question, just my colleague just used the word project. I appreciate that the entire delegation is supportive. If Alder Streeter is, if the CMT is, not for me to necessarily stand on the way of such. It seems like you have support for this neighborhood, but use the word project. I am curious from an architectural perspective, from an urban policy perspective, about the density here. We're looking at sort of the kind of buildings that we tore down in New Haven in recent many decades. It looks feeling a bit high-rise-ish and very dense. It's going to be entirely low income, if I understand. I think you have 80% AMI and 20% at 50% AMI. Just interested in hearing a little bit more about how you think things play out these days when one builds such high density, affordable housing in a deeply urban neighborhood. See in New Haven in general, we're looking to decentralize this housing out of, if I may say, project type housing. Curious for your design.
So I agree that the
Very quickly, so what we're voting on, but thank you.
Project is a term that I have as a connotation that I probably don't want to use. To me, it's an opportunity. It's a development, and if you zoom out from this address directly to the east, there are larger market-rated property and rental opportunities. We feel that this will, in the neighborhood, much needed housing stock to households that qualify at the 60 level. In fact, it's going to be, if not the newest and best quality in the neighborhood, it'll certainly be at the top end.
I'd like to respond to that. You know, it's funny when you just use that word project. You know, we think of it as, you know, you clean out your garage, that's a project, right? I mean, that's how we look at it. We don't associate the implementation of the project. We all come up with. It's a very good question. Most of the existing buildings qualify for state and federal credits. Any new buildings on the site or part of the development have to be reviewed for a likeness and so forth. So the buildings, the way I've designed them, have been intentionally designed to feel like this is part of a industrial campus, if you will. It's designed, and I've actually sent points to Dr. Butler and if on the State Historic Preservation Office. And she's reviewed the drawings, and she said that she felt that the buildings related to each other. So when you look at the two new buildings, they're probably not buildings that I would design if this building were in the road, but because the intent is to make this feel like a use of a former industrial campus. So I'm playing that game to make, like, if you look at the architecture and you look at sort of like, the brick, and it's very vertical, and the vertical lines pick up the lines of the existing building. That's not by accident, that's by design. So, yeah, that kind of explains what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to pretend that these were two buildings that one time were industrial and we've converted them. In fact, they're not. So that explains the rationale behind the way those buildings were.
We really don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this. We have another meeting after this one. And so if you'll just answer quickly, I don't want to get hung up over the word.
No, I just.
So we want to talk about tax abatement.
Okay.
And this map zoning, this Abatement, and that's what we're talking about. Oliver, did you have any other questions regarding our two items?
Except for now. Thank you, Mr. Majority. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, Alderman tax abatement. So my question is, sometimes I get a lot of percentages now. I may not. So in a straightforward kind of way, if y'all can give it to me. You said 40, right? From my understanding, you might have 1-bedroom apartments, lofts, 2-bedroom, or 3-bedroom apartments. What would be a 2-bedroom apartment? What would that go for? What would the 1-bedroom go for? And what?
So if you bear with me, I'll try to pull it up. On my
Undivided attention.
Okay. First off, I want to say all this is loading. Vesta is committed to creating housing proximate for entry-level teachers, nurses, hospitality workers, restaurant workers, baristas, all of that. And we don't want to burden people with long commutes. So at the 50% AMI level, remember we're a combination of 50 and 60% AMI. Right. The rents on a studio would be $1,077. At the 60% level, this is 2 years into the future, or actually 3 years, and we're anticipating a 2-year construction. So we're anticipating this would be open in in early 2029. So the studio at 60% would be $1,292. A 1-bedroom at the 50% level would be $1,154. A 1-bedroom at the 60% level would be $1,384. A 2-bedroom at the studio at the 50% would be $1,386. A 2-bedroom at the 60% level would be $1,663.
Thank you. I have another question. Jim, okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. How would you get the word out? How would you get your tenants? What's going to be your mechanism of getting the information out to the residents?
We're required by our financing to have a tenant selection plan. The tenant selection plan will be, we would market the property through the traditional marketing. Actually, non-traditional. It's 2026, and we're talking that we would be open for business ideally in early 2029 through the internet, through publications, through grassroots type marketing. The property will have a website when it's in construction. Would give progress updates along the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes, we've worked with the management team, so we certainly let them know.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, for giving me one more opportunity to speak to this. In the presentation, I heard you say that this would create, I believe, 320,
380.
yeah, 380 jobs.
Structural job.
So we have works here in the city. I reached out to them to try to work some kind of collaboration around being required.
We understand that there is no, and we will be selecting a general contractor. The general contractor will need to comply with both the state's guide, the procurement, as well as the cities. And so we can certainly make sure that they are once selected, the general contractor will commit to working with the airports.
Any questions?
Mr. Coacher, we have queued so far Alder Theodore and I don't know on this side who hasn't gone yet. And Alder Carmen Rodriguez and Alder Natal. Should we go in that order? Alder Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you all for the presentation. I also have a question about jobs. You mentioned that you're picking architects right now. It seems like there are plans that are set for this. Can you explain what more designing needs to be done? How much will these plans change?
Well, he's put together some renderings, schematic full floor. But he'll be the design architect, not the architect of record. We'll be working to select an architect of record that will work collaboratively, with the development team to ensure that we are in compliance with both state and local ordinances, guidelines, and everything else that's necessary. You probably have a lot more to say on that.
Well, that's probably sufficient. We don't want to get into the design.
No, I'm getting to design.
We have some new members in our committee. So it's important that we stay germane to this. I'm sorry, that was. No, you're good. So that's why we're asking just to answer. So keep moving. We want to do to money and zoning. Okay. And so we want to stay within that because we have another meeting and we have to vote on this. Okay. I'm all right. Thank you. Okay. On this side, Carmen Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what I see here, from the Commissioner of Connecticut Housing, this project, if it was to come to fruition, this would serve households most at risk of displacement. So you are targeting families, many families. From the letter I'm reading here.
The letter to the commissioner or from?
From the commissioner.
Okay.
And it's saying here that the family, this would assist families that are earning $40,000 to $70,000 annually.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm having, that's to the commissioner.
Yo, so you said this.
This is from the New Haven delegation to the.
Okay, so thank you for that clarification. So you're looking to help, again, families that are making between $40,000 and $70,000 keep this where they can move in.
We're targeting families at the 60% and 50% MI.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Natal?
My question relates to the number of units that will be going towards the 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom. I get that we have 60 units in one building, 84 units in another building, 96 units in the old building, right? And the construction is already there.
but how many of these units would be going to 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and then studios? And I get that perhaps abatements would be less if we're talking about families. When, how many people in these units? It's 1 bedroom studios. So my concern is, how many people in the actual area will be able to rent units. So just curious as to the number of 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom studio, which I know if you could do 3 bedrooms, but less units too.
Yeah, the cover sheet. While she's looking, yes, I wanted to respond to the older for a second. Older Theodore, and mentioned that, I can't help myself. I'm architecture for 40 years. In like 2000, I got into worked into the development business where I basically designed my own projects. I designed clients for many, many years, but then eventually I wanted to design my own. So I don't have a large staff. I'm no longer carrying that liability insurance we had to have, so we'll joint venture with another firm, and that's actually why there's two architectures. But the design is pretty much good, is what it's going to look like.
Thank you.
I can look at it.
I'm adding them up here. Apologize.
Actually, you know what? Wait, I have something. Right here. I walk around with these questions just like this. Okay. So we have 30 studio units, we have 124 one bedrooms, and we have 78 two bedrooms. So it's 38, 38 studios, 16%. For one bedroom, 2%. And then 78 two bedrooms, that's 32%.
Any other questions, Alder?
No, that'll be all. Thank you.
I didn't get on the queue who hadn't asked a question, Alder Evelyn Rodriguez.
Thank you. My question stems around, you're asking for the support of state funding, gotten all the delegation, state delegation to support your project. And you're also asking you consider you have some sort of partnership relationship with our homeless divisions throughout the city and state in reference to serving some of our homeless population in reference to this project.
Good question. There are opportunities and developments that do serve transition from homelessness and other that population. That is not what we're doing. What we're doing here is we're targeting, we're creating housing opportunities for households at the 50, 60% income. So these would be households that are employed. And again, Vesta is that one of the Vesta's goals is to create housing as close to places of employment, and that's what we're doing here. There are many other developers that focus on homelessness and lower AMI tiers. That's not what we're focusing on here.
And in consideration, and speaking for the homeless community, many of them with a roof over their head. So we are working, they just need. And so I think that considering your asks, this may be something that you may want to consider. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Co-Chair, I think we for a second round of questions, if some have some. I saw all the. Okay. Did you?
Thank you, co-chairs. So now I'm going to ask about the money. And I appreciate the analysis that you provided, Attorney Cohen, about what the base, ouch, okay. I'm going to talk in just a second. Funny bone. I appreciate the baseline analysis of what the current tax revenue for the city is for these properties. $75,000, give or take. And then I heard that if we were to accept this tax amendment proposal, it would move to $108,000 for the ensemble in that first year when the freeze is over. Right? I'm wondering if you calculated, and that's based on just taking the $450 by the number of units, right? So that's a simple set of arithmetic. But what would it be if there were no tax deal? I'm not saying there should, but I think the way for us as legislators to understand the value of the city's proposed contribution to this project. I understand that 108,000 is more than 75. So it's better to have this deal than to have the current situation, which is suboptimal. But I want to know if you calculated what would it be? Well, just for that first year after the freeze, if the project were, if there were no tax deal and you were paying full freight, what would that be?
For a moment, if you're at Church Street down the Trimble, they're told, are you serious? So, reset, you skip the cars there, Church Street, Trumbull, I was just told that they're towing cars. We're sending someone out there now. The car was on Church, going down, I'm told to Trumbull. Cars are being towed, ticketed and towed. So, why don't we take a 5-minute recess, we'll come back in.
I can tell you where to put it.
He's already outside. Recess is this. We're recording. And the ticket will be voucher.
That gives you time to calculate.
That's, yeah. Majority of readers said they could park in the parking lot.
Elm task force.
They will validate your ticket. We'll validate your ticket. Should also mention, yeah, we're going to hold recess for about 5 minutes.
Do you know where you need to go? I know where that.
Oh, Mr. Hayden. I'm gonna go.
Mine's in the circle.
So that.
On the left, Those cars are not allowed to.
And that has implications for
Law,
what
so.
I don't just want to put in an environment that makes use of development. You're going to house. You're going to need a different, there would be some different. But they're operational.
Yeah,
They would be-
yeah.
they would be-
Yeah, although I actually, honestly, as far as hanging outdoors and have people, I got a lot of action. And there were 3 cars on the outside. That's been renovated. Close to circle. Yeah, she was the one that wanted to leave her cars. For those 3 cars outside in the front. For those 3 cars, that's the operation of the farm. Like, we're serious. Like, there was no way to get to that door because the dumpster, I didn't think anyone. You don't have to.
All these, yeah. Well, I think you can do it. And that's something we should talk more about together. Because when it comes to the AC, there's paperwork that happens every year. For any project that the city partner, there's good work because we can do inspections. Like, and that's something we can talk with the EDA about. What's the problem with these buildings? But there is. Like the Affordable Housing Commission probably comes out.
Doors, 2 people nicely, 1 person said.
We need one. So the next one, so the next meeting.
One person told me, I know it's a rule, but I was like, wait, how about a thank you?
With the level.
You know,
Affordability.
the attitude across the street. And you would get.
Yeah.
I'm always someone I want this from.
Yes.
It's.
It's.
Yeah, that's a question. Everybody, give them a ticket, and then they will work. Right. No, I mean, people needed to move, those 4 cars. What number is that? Is that number 1? It's the house to the left of Tony. What number is that? I think it's 1 or 5. When it's almost 1 and a half. It's right when you go on the circle, floor freaking. It's very cool.
In my house.
No, all the way along. If the circle, if the circle's here, you're in this corner. To the left, from basic Tony's house to the left of Tony's house. No. 1 story to the left. Is it your house?
Oh, yes.
Yes, that's the name. And they have 4 cars. Parked on all sides of the street. She doesn't circle paper properly because it's. And plus the truck needs to probably turn around to go. if they need to.
That's what I made that least amount.
Yes, well, they can make them out more than 50. It's four parts, it can't.
Well, the only place. It's based now, so much back driveway and driveway to the house next. And usually, always sets cars into the driveway, he's got some guidance.
Anyway, okay, thank you, so thank you.
But you're right, it's,
I keep that, I really, I want to, I got Fountain Terrace, because everybody else got a Fountain Terrace.
it's, they can't just.
It cleared, and then with a lot of snow, you have to brush for the next 3 weeks.
There's no problem. It's a trouble, it's just. Actually, when they plow up there, I'd say.
Okay. Just checking you out. Well, checking out, like,
That's what they're. We could change it.
And Saturday morning, so get some work done here. So I had a few hours on
You're okay? Yeah, I made it on time. They're taking someone's car now. So I don't know, you don't.
I feel that we had lined up the home street lot for everyone to say, but the word must not have gotten.
I checked on my. It's. Okay, it happens.
We have been silly.
Moving around, I'm like, oh, parking. Yes, but I figured they're being really because of the snow. I'm just like, cancel time. That's too much. That's pushing it, that's pushing it.
First year.
Where's that, over there?
I'm sitting out there, so that's why I'm
We could do something different. Let's, well, let's submit to it. We have to do it as it is submitted. Because you need a different regulation, if you change this. We're dealing with their submission, but you need to set. Because something. All right, here. It doesn't take too long.
How you fellas doing?
Mr. Smith, how are you?
Think about both of you all.
Huh?
Yeah, I need to talk to both of you all about what we're trying to do. We're trying to get Brennan school.
Oh.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. I've seen him forever.
Union Square. We're gonna be.
Well, that parking fiasco disrupted our.
Nobody else parked on church.
You're not telling me.
No one else will park on church. What is good? Okay. All right.
Yeah, I do too.
I have an idea, and I'm telling the mayor, those cars are so compacted that we need to put a digger with the tool company. For every car, they have